Hi, this is Mike Connors. You are listening to TV Confidential.
Last week also marked the passings of two other icons in the world of film and television, Academy Award-winning actor Gene Hackman and Edgar Allan Poe Award-winning novelist Joseph Wambaugh. Gene Hackman was found dead in his home in Santa Fe, New Mexico on Wednesday, February 26. He was 95 years old, and the cause of death and precise date of his death were both still being investigated at the time we recorded this week's program. Though best known for his work as a motion picture actor, most notably The French Connection, Hoosiers, Bonnie and Clyde, Mississippi Burning, The Conversation, and Unforgiven, Gene Hackman appeared frequently on network television throughout the early 1960s. Before receiving his first break as a movie actor in Bonnie and Clyde, Hackman appeared in such popular shows as Route 66, Naked City, East Side, West Side, The Defenders, I Spy, and the FBI. Joseph Wambaugh passed away Friday, February 28th at the age of 88. A former police officer with the Los Angeles Police Department, Wambaugh changed the face of American crime fiction with a series of character-driven, wholly original, and enormously successful novels that captured day-to-day police work and were often drawn from his own experiences as a cop, including such bestsellers as The New Centurions, The Blue Knight, and The Onion Field. Several novels by Joseph Wambaugh were adapted into major motion pictures, while The Blue Knight was developed twice for network television. Joseph Wambaugh was also the creator of the long-running anthology series Police Story. The executive producer of Police Story was David Gerber. Our friend Larry Brody got one of his first breaks in network television as a staff writer on Police Story. He shared a few memories of working with David Gerber when he visited TV Confidential in January 2012.
What was your experience working with Gerber like?
I think that when I worked with David Gerber, I had a very narrowly focused goal in life, and it was to outlive him. he was legendary. He actually was a guy who had set out to become legendary and had modeled himself after Samuel Goldwyn. I'm going to appear to be a ham-fisted idiot and say things that don't quite make sense and behave outrageously so that you will tell stories about me. So now, of course, I never want to tell any stories about him. But I want him to win. But it was like, the good part of Gerber was that he was the greatest salesman in the world. Not done with charm, but done with, he was from Brooklyn, so just done with sarcasm.
Yeah.
Just the king of beating you up until you bought it. He had been the head of a street gang and others. He had been, according to his own stories, a prisoner in Stalag 17, the one that the character Animal was based on. Don't know if it was true, but it was certainly part of what he wanted people to think.
Huh.
And he was a very physically intimidating guy who... He's the kind of person when you worked and you wrote anything for him, you never could count on his reaction. It could be brilliant and he'd throw it in the trash. It could be horrible and he'd love it. Or he could recognize that things were really wonderful and love it when he was supposed to love it.
Yeah.
He had good instincts. He'd watched every movie ever made. And so he always knew how to increase the conflict and how to add a little touch that would just be so real and so magical that you couldn't wait to put it in. But he also had these hang-ups. For example, if you watch any of the old David Gerber series, Police Woman, Police Story, Medical Story, all these things that he did that were very, hugely rewarded, awarded shows, you realize that no one ever expresses a positive emotion. There are no scenes where anyone turns and says, I love you. People don't even say, I like you. They just argue, because that was part of his life.
Yeah. The one exception I can think of, not to contradict you, but I'm thinking of the...
Oh, I'd love to hear one. That would be great. Maybe name him a little.
Well, the episodes, let's stay on Police Story. Don Meredith did about 6 or 7 of them. And even though it was not exactly a warm, cop-cop relationship between he and Tony LoBianco, Meredith came across as about as well-rounded a character as he could be, but maybe he was just projecting his real personality onto the page.
Well, no, I think that it was legitimate that those two guys liked each other.
Yeah.
Neither one would ever have said it in a scene. So when I say the expression of positive emotion, I don't mean that they couldn't demonstrate it, but
Yeah.
you were not allowed to have characters speak that way to each other. The closest a married character would express emotion to his wife, and since they were always about the men, that's why I use that pronoun, would be if the hero man would sense a problem and say, "Are we all right, babe?" That meant he loved her.
Well,
But he wouldn't say, "I love you."
Well, I guess it almost sounds like a Jack Webb kind of vibe going on there, and that you looking at Joe Friday and Harry Morgan in the '60s, and then Joe Friday and Ben Alexander in the '50s. I mean, the same thing. I mean, the characters there, it was about the work. There was a bond there, but it wasn't said on the page, but it was conveyed
Right.
in the course.
But it was
of the weeks.
about the work. We were doing shows that were about, or the actual point of Police Story was the cop works on the case and the case works on the cop. So that it was 50-50 personal life and professional life. And there were things that were taboo. I was 23 years old when I first went to work with Gerber. I obviously didn't know anything about anything. He was one of these guys where because he had so much, I hate to say insight, but he did, and film knowledge, you really expected to be able to do great things, but he would always take the cheesy way out of everything that started out as great. And so I became, and I was actually on his staff as I was the no man. He had lots of yes men. But I, being a rebellious kid, I was there to tell him, no, that's a horrible idea, you can't do that, it's going to suck if you do it that way. And by the end of the meeting, he being the boss and me being worried about employment, I would give in and say, okay, well, let's try it that way. And he would be convinced that he was right because he had just beaten me. So I was there for him to beat.
Yeah, okay, you may have been there for him to beat, but he kept you on, so he saw something in you, Larry.
Yeah, he made me. Literally he made me. And that's the whole great thing about television, is that you can hitch your wagon to the star. You find a producer, showrunner who likes your work as a writer, that guy will take you everywhere.
That's right.
And eventually you can replace him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then you become the showrunner, and then you can have yes men and no men of your own.
Well, I prefer yes men.
Yes.
My relationship with Gerber was such that while I worked for him, I started training and working out and gaining like 50 pounds of muscle, just so that when we met in the halls and he rammed me in his usual linebacker posture, instead of me going flying into the wall, he would.
Well, it sounds like you not only learned a lot about the craft, working with him, you learned a lot about just simply doing what you need to do to survive for as long as you did in the industry.
With Gerber, you had to keep your eyes open about the business. And a lot of people, even the most successful writer-producers I know, don't really understand how they got there or what the business is. And why does a show get on the air? Why does a show stay on the air? And I made myself become aware of all those things, just in the never-ending battle to understand what Gerber was going to do to me next.
Television writer-producer Larry Brody sharing a few memories of working with David Gerber behind the scenes on Police Story, the long-running anthology series that aired on NBC from 1973 through 1979. Police Story, created by Joseph Wambaugh. Joseph Wambaugh passed away Friday, February 28th at the age of 88. We'll be back with more TV Confidential right after this.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
One more item: if you're starting a company, particularly one that is in an emerging market, you know that averting any sort of legal dispute is crucial to your business plan. Our friends at Tectonic Law offer an array of services that can help you avoid and preempt future litigation while also developing and protecting your intellectual property and intangible assets. Tectonic Law serves the needs of a host of emerging industries throughout California and beyond, including industrial designers, beverage makers, artists, farmers, retail stores, health practitioners, wellness experts, cosmetics manufacturers, nonprofit organizations, innovators in sustainable practices, and libraries. Go to tectoniclaw.com to learn more about how Tectonic Law can help your business thrive. tectoniclaw.com. Rock solid representation for groundbreaking industries.